Homage to fundamental teacher Buddha Shakyamuni, homage to wisdom, warrior Manjushri, homage to all lineage benevolent masters. The Dharma, infinitely profound and subtle, is rarely encountered even in 1,000,000 eons. Now we are able to hear, study and follow it. May we fully realize Tathagata's true meaning. In order to liberate all sentient beings from samsara, generate supreme bodhicitta. Today we'll discuss, from the words of my perfect teacher, the 10 negative actions. Among the physical negative actions, we've completed the first one, which is killing. Now we'll discuss taking what is not given, divided into 3 aspects. Taking by authority, taking by theft, and taking by deception. First, taking by authority. Like kings and others with great power, instead of relying on lawful taxation, they use illegal violence to seize and plunder. Or they deploy armies and military force to openly plunder people's property. In such cases, people haven't personally given these to them, but through their powerful means, they forcibly take wealth. This is called taking by authority or taking by force. As mentioned earlier, people's own possessions are seized by others through coercive means. For example, our resources, minerals, land, or any wealth are taken by others using their power. In today's world, greed burns extremely fiercely. Like in 2003, America reportedly went to war with Iraq out of greed for oil. And in 1840, China's territory was also invaded by foreign countries. These various great acts of greed that appear in the world mean that countries covet from each other, and among people, those with power plunder and seize the wealth of the weak. All of this belongs to taking what is not given. When we study or do other things in the world, we often encounter people with power and authority who take away our wealth even when we're unwilling. Including school children, many children are quite weak, and bigger children steal all their pens and good toys. After stealing, they don't even dare to speak up. When we studied before, this happened. Actually, this is taking what is not given, which is a form of stealing. Openly taking others' things as one's own also belongs to taking what is not given. For monastics or lay practitioners who observe precepts, the precept against taking what is not given is very strict. Basically, 2 or 3 yuan, about 2 yuan, if you obtain it through power or some secret means into your own hands, you've already broken the precept. So, the precept against taking what is not given is particularly easy to violate. This is the first. Second is taking by theft. That is, thieves and their kind take advantage when the owner can't see or hear, secretly and stealthily stealing food and wealth as their own. This is called taking by theft. Now, people sometimes, when no one can see, secretly and stealthily take away wealth. Including in big cities, in many shops, I hear this phenomenon of theft is very serious. Sometimes when we, including some monastics, go to supermarkets to buy things, those service staff keep staring, thinking we might be the most likely to steal. Like at Renrenle and Carrefour, when buying some food, they keep following us. Once I told a sales clerk, "I won't steal, you don't need to keep following me," but I heard they encounter petty thieves over 100 times in 1 month. In just one supermarket, they encounter so many. They secretly steal away all of others' wealth. This phenomenon, including in today's schools, things get lost very frequently, whether clothes or study materials. On one hand, perhaps teachers haven't properly educated them from childhood. On the other hand, perhaps we humans from childhood all have particularly cruel and bad attitudes. If they steal from childhood, when they grow up, they will indeed commit major corruption and destroy themselves and others. So sometimes we can also see when you take others' property into your own hands, people without conscience might feel happy. But if you have a conscience, others are extremely painful. I remember in the treatise on the great perfection of wisdom, there's a line saying, "Others' things cannot be touched, like a great fire mass. If you steal others' things, their owners weep and grieve." This means we cannot touch others' things. Others' wealth you cannot take into your hands. If you do this, it will burn yourself. Others' wealth is like a great fire mass. Why is this said? When you take others' wealth, actually the person who lost the wealth suffers extremely in their heart. We find some Dharma friends when they lose money or cards, immediately they're almost going crazy everywhere. "Ah no, my things are gone. What should I do?" When money is gone or things in the room are lost, they suffer greatly. So why is today's society indeed an era when bandits are very rampant? When you get to cities, you can see anti-theft doors, anti-theft windows, and layer upon layer of iron gates. People lock themselves up like prisoners, there's no choice. Wherever they go, they're fearful and anxious, never feeling safe in their hearts. What's the reason for this? It's that society's morality and conscience, kind hearts are decreasing more and more, while evil hearts, greed, anger, and hearts that don't observe cause and effect become more and more fierce. After this, the entire society appears on the surface, as if in cities, high-rise buildings get taller year by year. The cars people drive and luxury homes they live in all look very comfortable and quite beautiful, but people's inner hearts gradually decline, moral ethics slowly depleted. At this time, people's happiness indeed decreases day by day. Why do they say the happiness index in big cities now gets lower and lower? The reason is also here. So we should think that stealing is a very bad behavior. Therefore, from childhood, children should receive this kind of education. Whether oneself is a monastic or layperson, as a monastic, stealing is impossible. If you steal, you must leave the Sangha. There's no way to stay, unless you keep hiding it yourself. Otherwise, there's no way. But in lay communities, many people also, as some lay people I hear in some places, if someone becomes a thief, they're seen as a hero. From childhood, they tell children, this child is very capable. Look, when he goes to the street, he can steal things. That's quite good. Hey, we can reward you. Next time, see if you can steal others' socks or pencils. This way, you're becoming more and more sensible and clever. This person will definitely be capable when grown up. Very good. This is the kind of heroic good fellow. I hear there are such remote places with particularly bad customs, so we should understand the principles of what to accept and reject as human beings. Below is the third issue, taking by deception. In the process of commerce and trade, in order to deceive the other party, they frequently lie with their mouths and also in their behavior, using short measures, illegal scales, and other means to obtain the other party's wealth. In the current process of doing business, there are often many means of flattery and deception. Of course, in business settings, people all think this is a common thing. Even now, for example, some hospitals that save lives and heal the wounded, people consider them sacred institutions. They also use unscrupulous means, often setting their sights on money. I heard of a hospital selling medicine like clindamycin. When it comes from the manufacturer, it's 4 yuan, but when it's finally sold, it's 30 yuan. Now, people can't even imagine that this medicine or these products, as long as I make money, that's already fine. Some food products nowadays, initially when they come to market and get patents and permits, people all use relatively reasonable approaches to start using these products. But later in the actual operation process, the components that are truly beneficial to human bodies and humanity become fewer and fewer, while products harmful to humanity become more and more. After this, using unscrupulous means, they continuously create factors that destroy humanity itself. So our current era is indeed a commodity era, a commercial era. If most people understood cause and effect principles and conducted business guided by conscience, doing various things, there should be some benefits, but it's absolutely not like this. Under the drive of such greed, what people do long term are all non-virtuous deeds. I remember in the Sutra of the Right Mindfulness of Dharma, there's a verse saying, if a person acts with deception and schemes to take others' things, this is great greed and constantly performing non-virtuous actions. If people use flattery and false means to receive others' wealth, actually from an ethical perspective, this is a very great mind of greed. If one has a greedy mind, just as we discussed the day before yesterday, under the drive of greed, people will do any evil. Without a sense of shame, without a sense of cause and effect, without kindness, only thinking of themselves and deceiving others. After this, they will perform many evil deeds. Why is it that when some corrupt officials' cases are exposed, many people are shocked after hearing about it? Why would this person do such things? Sigh, was this person's conscience eaten by wolves or dogs? How could this be? Everyone wonders why this happens. Because of his greed, he manipulates various schemes, never thinking that this person has completely lost the concept of being human. At a certain point, he's already lost control. In this situation, it's definitely great greed. So sometimes I think about people in the world, often following what Buddhism teaches: don't lie, don't steal, don't commit sexual misconduct. The lowest level precepts in all of Buddhism are the 3 refuges and 5 precepts. If the 5 precepts can be maintained, society can be said to be harmonious. Any country would be stable. People don't know that the content of Buddhism is so excellent. Very great monarchs or leaders over tens of thousands of people, sometimes they can't even maintain the 5 precepts. If you can't even maintain the 5 precepts, doing very meaningful things for society and your own future will have certain difficulties. So from correct reasoning and true moral ethics, Buddhist precepts are indeed very necessary. Let's not talk about the particularly high precepts of monks and nuns for now, even the 5 precepts taken by ordinary lay practitioners, what great benefit they have for society. I think everyone will understand this point when they think about it. For example, a mayor or party secretary of a big city, if this party secretary maintains the 5 precepts, maintaining not drinking alcohol, not committing sexual misconduct, not lying, not stealing, and not killing absolutely during his term, there shouldn't be major obstacles, unless others treat him unfairly or his abilities suddenly fail. Generally, this won't happen. But why do many officials and leaders, now at a certain point, have no way to control themselves before money and ultimately destroy everything? The reason is also here. So taking by deception, obtaining wealth through various false means, this is also stealing. So whether as monastics or people with precepts, we should think these principles through well, otherwise it's easy to violate them. Currently, some among us think that as long as we don't personally steal, merely relying on business and other deceptive means to obtain wealth is without wrongdoing. Many people think this way. As long as I personally haven't secretly gone to others' homes to steal, using other various means to obtain wealth won't have any fault. Actually, conducting business through deceptive and fraudulent means, no matter how much profit is gained, is actually no different from direct stealing. Therefore, we should know that personal stealing and deceptive stealing have no difference. This point should be understood. Especially worth mentioning is that in today's era, many teachers and monks don't regard business activities as faults or wrongdoing at all. They even put their entire life's energy into business operations and commerce. Busy all day long, yet thinking they're particularly shrewd and capable. Now, in the degenerate age, lay people doing business and commerce is a normal thing, but many monastic communities, including some monastics, even objects of respect for tens of thousands of people, some great masters, don't focus their minds on study, contemplation, meditation, or benefiting beings, but solely devote all their life's energy to making money and profit. When discussing these principles, many are particularly good at talking. In some materials and online, there are comments that such and such master is not a great master of Dharma, but should be a great boss of business. There are various criticisms. Some may be groundless slander, while some truly point to their faults. Little do they know that nothing can destroy a monk's mind stream more than engaging in business. Actually, we all don't know that truly doing business and commerce, as a monastic, as a monk, in terms of destroying this life and future lives, is the most fearful behavior, very unreasonable. Buddha said in the sutra that inspires noble intentions, which is also part of the sutra of the great heap of jewels. In this sutra it says, I have now gone forth seeking virtuous benefits, don't create disputes, and generate evil minds. Having no fields, land, or business, for what reason do we start disputes and fights? This means that those who have gone forth seeking merit should not engage in competitive activities or generate evil minds. Why? As monastics, they have no fields for farming or business and commercial activities. So why make a fuss over these matters? Why be busy all day long over these things? As monastics, they should see through all worldly trivial matters, for the benefit of all beings, having donned the monastic robes and shaved their hair, yet still doing business exactly like worldly lay people. This is unreasonable. So the monasteries and practice centers where monastics reside should be places for propagating Dharma, study, contemplation, meditation, and benefiting beings, not places for seeking wealth and obtaining profits and money. Therefore, many monastics studying in Tibetan areas, I think you must focus your future vision on propagating Dharma. Propagating Dharma is the most important thing for us. I often think that superior practitioners attain transcendent realizations and then benefit beings. Medium practitioners maintain practice centers and diligently cultivate themselves. Inferior people constantly generate different afflictions in their mind streams. The most inferior people cannot benefit beings, but often create actions that harm others and themselves. So we think that even if we cannot become the first type of person, like the ancient great masters of the past who truly had transcendent realizations in their mind streams and then benefited countless thousands of beings, I've seen a great master in Tibet who was one of the 4 main disciples of the Kadampas, who built 108 monasteries in his lifetime. In Han regions, like Master Shuyun and many great masters, they also built many practice centers in their lives. Such deeds are very worthy of our rejoicing. Although we haven't reached such a level, perhaps some people will truly do this in the future. When we're able to do it, we shouldn't fail to rejoice. Some people say everything is emptiness. So what's the use of building practice centers? I think this statement, although it's emptiness in ultimate truth, conventionally we cannot abandon accumulating merit. As Master Zhuyun once said, Skyflower Buddha activities should be done at all times. Water moon practice centers should be built everywhere. Like flowers in empty space without inherent nature, Buddha activities should always be performed. Appearing yet without inherent nature, water moon-like Buddhist practice centers should be built everywhere. Now in Tibetan areas, basically there's a small monastery under every mountain valley. What benefit does this have? Even if Buddhism suffers some widespread damage, the surrounding areas have a very great effect on many ordinary people. If various places all have some practice centers, then in the future they will greatly benefit nearby people. Because now it may not be like ancient times when all policies and various local regulations may not be as convenient as before. But if conditions are truly adequate in all aspects as before, I think especially in Han regions with so many people, in many cities with 1 million people but only one monastery, this cannot satisfy the local religious community's needs. In their words, it cannot satisfy the demands of the religious community. Because of their faith, we all know that every month on days like the 8th and 10th, at that time you can't even enter the monastery. There's no way. At the entrance, it's a sea of people. If various places had many practice centers, it would actually be very meaningful. So I often think about individual Dharma friends studying in Tibetan areas. When you're old, once you've studied well, you'll probably still return to your homeland. Fallen leaves return to their roots. You have this saying, don't you? When people get old, we have a saying, old birds return to their original nest. Old people return to their homeland. When birds get old, they return to their original nests. When people get old, they return to their original homeland. At that time, you should find ways, if you have the ability and all conditions are adequate, to build some, as I just mentioned, one person building 108 practice centers might be a bit difficult, but one person building one monastery, or if a monastery is really impossible, building a hermitage is also fine. An open hermitage, not one where no one can enter except yourself, with doors always closed. This way there's no way to connect with beings. It should be an open hermitage. This way, at least 10 to 20 people from the surrounding area often come there to hear Buddha's name and study some Dharma. Gradually, good roots can be planted in their mind streams. After this, people's compassion and wisdom, generation after generation, the flame of wisdom and compassion, the relay torch of wisdom and compassion, can be continuously passed down. Very meaningful. But if it's not like this, if you're doing business all day, putting your focus or main energy on wealth, then cultivation will not be successful. Why do I say this? You can think about it. Running around everywhere all day for business, going to Hong Kong today, Beijing tomorrow, the day after too. Because I'm recently preparing to start a company, our company will soon go public. No problem. Now, with leaders from the Civil Affairs Bureau and the Ministry of Commerce, after a while, I plan to meet with them through connections. After meeting, I'm sure it will definitely go well, because regardless of the entire monastery's scale, our monastics, you can't say such things. Om Vajra Sattvaham. Running around everywhere will inevitably cause you to forget completely study, visiting teachers, accumulating merit, purifying obscurations, and all the virtuous activities of study, contemplation, and meditation that should be done. Moreover, there's no opportunity for study and cultivation, no time, no energy, and no interest. At a certain point, truly, some people, including some dedicated practitioners, cannot always go along with society and worldly people. Otherwise, in the end, you won't be able to find your own conscience. It's already lost. What's worse, even when sleeping at night, you keep thinking about business accounts. As a result, this will inevitably cut off the roots of faith, renunciation, compassion, and so forth. You think about doing business all day, how much money to make, what the costs are, how much to deduct for travel expenses, after deducting travel expenses, how much profit on each product, how much I invest first, then the profit earned still needs to pay taxes to the government, plus pay salaries to the workers below, plus electricity fees, water fees, and including house rental fees. Can we actually make money? Oh, it might be a bit difficult. Day and night always thinking, always involuntarily spinning around in a confused and bewildered state. Day and night always thinking, finally the person becomes haggard. Looking at them, every day thinking about making money, but can't make money, always losing money, losing, always losing. In the end, probably can't even get back the initial investment. Many people in business are truly pitiful, but there's no choice because people living in the world cannot possibly do nothing. We're not earthworms. If we were earthworms eating soil every day, that would be fine, but we're not. So many people truly have this kind of suffering. If you think about doing business every day and can't sleep at night, there's a story about Milarepa. Once Milarepa came to a monastery and stayed the night in a monk's home. After that monk lay down, probably after they had dinner together, he didn't recognize Milarepa as being so famous and accomplished. Patrul Rinpoche also often visited everywhere as an ordinary person, so at that time he also didn't recognize Milarepa. Whether Milarepa slept first or later is unclear, but after this monk lay down, his mind unfolded such a scene of planning. What was his situation? He originally had a yak. This person was probably a very superficial monk, because a true monastic couldn't possibly kill a yak and then sell it the next day, but he should be a very unlawful monk. He was thinking about killing a yak tomorrow. He thought in his mind, how should I sell the yak's hide and meat? He kept thinking in his mind, then while sleeping and thinking, how much money can I make from its head? How much from the thighs? How much from the front leg shoulder parts? How much from the lower legs? He kept calculating like this, plus the internal organs, skin, skeleton, and hooves. He calculated everything. He calculated all parts, inside and out, completely. The whole night he didn't sleep, always thinking. Perhaps some of us, no matter what we're thinking about, sometimes people's psychology is particularly strange. Originally, it's a very small matter, but once you start thinking about it, you keep thinking, always concentrating on this, and can't sleep. Except for that yak's tail, everything else was planned in advance. Perhaps he forgot the tail or something. At this time, dawn had already broken. You see, he was quite something, spending the whole night continuously doing this calculation. Perhaps locally no one knew how much money one yak could sell for. Now, in Tibetan areas, recently a relatively large yak costs around 5,000 yuan. Last year when we went to Hongyuan for life release with some big yaks, after they slaughter the yaks, some meat is directly transported to Lhasa, which is relatively expensive. Another part is transported to Chengdu, which costs 3,000 to 4,000. He probably kept calculating like this, and dawn had already broken. At that time, he immediately got up pretentiously and performed a series of Buddhist activities like reciting sutras, prostrating to Buddha, and offering tormas. On the surface, he acted very convincingly, getting up early because he hadn't slept all day. But in the morning, he probably habitually performed some Buddhist activities. Seeing that Milarepa was still fast asleep, continuously snoring, sleeping, he walked over and said with cold sarcasm, "Hey, Milarepa." He didn't know who Milarepa was. "You think you're a practitioner, a renunciant, but you don't do any Dharma activities, sutra recitation, or other virtuous deeds, yet you sleep in like this. What are you doing?" He began speaking like this. Then Milarepa also pretended not to know and said, "I'm really sorry. I'm not particularly fond of sleeping, but last night something special happened. Because I was considering selling a cow I have, I kept thinking about how much money I could make from its entire body, calculating continuously, so I didn't have time to sleep. Therefore I overslept this morning. I'm really sorry. Oh my, is it dawn already? I feel so sleepy. However, I still have one thing left. I haven't calculated the yak's tail yet." He said this in the morning. The master's words thoroughly exposed that monk's ugly inner heart. He had already exposed his faults. He definitely knew Milarepa was clearly speaking about him. So this story has already shown that if you're a superficial monastic who wants to do business just like this monk, forget about having opportunities for practice during the day. You don't even have time to sleep at night. So we can think, can such a person truly succeed in practice? Absolutely cannot succeed. Similarly, those who only engage in business now, day and night, they consider business accounts, often in states of confusion and distraction, wasting their time. At the time of death, they can only die in such a confused state. Throughout their entire life, there's probably no true virtuous dharma. So this text is mainly discussing taking what is not given, but we need to understand the faults of commerce, which the teaching texts have already explained. Now, worldly people, especially some monastics, use various methods, like in the south and parts of Tibetan areas, using ritual services, but these ritual services also have specific prices set. Some time ago, some lay practitioners asked, for liberation rituals, there's superior liberation, medium liberation, and inferior liberation. And monks also use various methods, like consecration and blessing. How much is superior consecration worth? How much is medium consecration worth? So many people use Buddhism as a banner, but it's actually just business. This kind of business probably involves many people planning, arranging, and making various designs. In this process, they definitely put in a lot of energy, time, and thought. After this, true practice is greatly affected. So for us ordinary true practitioners, apart from one's food or some basic living necessities, it's best to put the main energy into benefiting beings and studying Dharma. This is very important. As an abbot maintaining a practice center or great masters, the first consideration should be whether there's study, contemplation, and meditation in this practice center. This should be the primary focus. Otherwise, viewing monasteries as specialized money-making institutions is not good. Now, there's a saying, Buddhism sets the stage, economics performs the play. Using Buddhism to set up a platform, then using this platform to start developing economics. For worldly people, this might indeed be quite convenient because now there are more and more religious people. When people encounter various sufferings, they feel groundless and very empty inside. At this time, they need a faith. This faith should best be true education, true Buddhism. This way it would benefit everyone. Otherwise, if it's just a means of making money, individual leaders in some places and related departments might also be very happy, but actually it has no meaning for human society and no meaning for propagating Buddhism. So we say, people don't change, hearts change. Padmasambhava once said this, people don't change, hearts change. People don't change, times change. Our people overall don't change, but as times change, people's hearts become bad, and times become bad. People's behavior also gradually enters another stage. So, as monastics, we should also pay attention to this aspect. Not only that, what follows explains that in doing business, among the 10 negative actions, basically all are present except 2. Moreover, in the process of selling, originally selling inferior goods, they speak smoothly and deceptively, saying, previously, so-and-so offered such and such amount of money, but I didn't sell. When I bought it myself, the original price was also such and such. All complete nonsense. So in the process of doing business, it's all lying. This is quite common. What was the factory price at that time? Someone came wanting to buy, offering me such amount, but I didn't sell. If you want it, forget it. I don't need to make money. I can even lose a little on this myself. Looking at your face, I'll just sell it. In the process of transactions between buyers and sellers, some people also need to lie when they want to buy certain products, creating discord and obstacles between buyers and sellers. This is divisive speech. Just now they committed lying, now they commit divisive speech, speaking rudely about the other party's goods, too poor, too bad, too inferior, poor quality, wrong quantity, etc., or citing various reasons like being heavily in debt, or saying they want to return your products, etc., quarreling fiercely with the other party and saying harsh words. This violates the precept against harsh speech. Harsh speech often occurs in commerce. Some companies say, "We're really sorry, we cannot speak harshly. We should still receive customers with a very gentle attitude." But these people are very angry inside and really want to criticize others' faults. Some shopping centers have regulations that employees cannot quarrel with customers. But they really want to quarrel inside. Their lips keep moving, because having anger in their hearts doesn't violate precepts. As long as they don't speak, it's fine. Such regulations of theirs meaninglessly starting to comment on high and low prices, originally not wanting to buy but still bargaining with the other party, etc. This is idle chatter, so all 4 types of verbal wrongdoing are committed. Also, ambitiously wanting to make others' wealth one's own. This is greed, trying every method to deceive others and obtain their things for oneself. Having the intention to completely ruin others, this is harmful intent. Always having some harmful intent in the heart. In business, big fish eat small fish eat shrimp. Always wanting to devour them, having such evil minds, such harmful intent. Like killing sheep for trade, for example. Now some sell fish, sell chickens. Various trading processes involve killing. Killing is also present. In this way, in the process of commerce, among the 10 negative actions, except for wrong view and sexual misconduct, all are directly present. Indirectly, sexual misconduct can also be present. For example, wealthy people going to prostitutes or entering abnormal places, these are all related to business. As for wrong view, constantly doing business without properly studying and practicing, gradually and naturally developing wrong views toward karma and the 3 jewels in one's mind stream. It seems the Sutra of the Great Heap of Jewels says, being greedy for others' wealth, frequently generating anger, developing various wrong views, such a person goes to evil destinies. This says that being greedy for others' property, constantly doing business, on one hand frequently generates much anger in one's mind stream, while simultaneously developing different wrong views, various wrong views. Such a person gradually destroys their own spiritual aspiration, and will eventually go to the 3 lower realms. So actually wrong view is also present. If business doesn't go smoothly, it will cause both self and others to go bankrupt, making everyone deeply suffer, ultimately harming others and oneself. Even oneself might end up starving to death. Some businesses that fail and go bankrupt, some people eventually become beggars and starve to death. There are very many people who fall to such fates. If business goes well and shows some improvement, no matter how much they earn, they're never satisfied, always greedy and insatiable. Even if their wealth equals that of Vaishravana, they still enthusiastically engage in extremely sinful commerce. They're never satisfied. We now see some people who are very wealthy, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions. At this time, they still want to invest more, and ultimately, in the end, in their brief human life, they gain nothing. They do nothing for society, not even having one day of truly happy life themselves. Thus, in busyness and distraction, life's journey has already reached its end. When death comes, they can only clutch their chest and become the foundation for evil destinies. Very frightening. In the end, only when leaving this world, all virtuous deeds remain undone. The karma they created, especially now business people and wealthy people, Every day they feast and drink, killing countless beings, deceiving countless beings. After this, in the end, they truly go to hell, hungry ghost, and animal realms. The Sutra of the Right Mindfulness of Dharma says, if a person has evil greed that constantly covers their mind, they will always enter hell and be among hungry ghosts and so forth. Those people who long-term cover their own minds with greedy thoughts, those who cover their own minds with evil greedy thoughts, actually suffer unbearably in this very life. In the next life, they will either be reborn in hell or reborn as hungry ghosts or animals among particularly inferior beings. Therefore, on the surface, some people appear very wealthy, and all their actions are in happiness, songs, and laughter. But actually, this is only temporary. If the karma they create is very extensive, then there's no meaning or value to their existence, making negative karma continuously increase and destroying one's own mind stream. There's nothing more serious than engaging in commerce. People in the business world normally carry in their minds schemes and plots to deceive others. They always harbor evil thoughts, like knife blades, spear points, and needle tips. They confront others head-on. They often have ulterior motives, malicious intentions, and particularly vicious hearts, because people in business sometimes become more and more cunning. Sometimes among our monastics, those who previously did business, for a very long time cannot transform their original evil minds. Even in the Buddhist monastic community after ordination, often this person still uses their original worldly methods to treat the monastic community. They never have any sense of what to accept or reject regarding the three jewels property. This is because their minds were previously polluted by doing business. They completely deviate from the bodhicitta of benefiting others. As a result, they can only make boundless negative karma increase again and again, continuously accumulating various negative karmas. So, whether lay people or monastics, doing business indeed has certain faults. At this time, I think this question also arises. Is it that especially for monastics, for the sake of monasteries and propagating Dharma to benefit beings, they do some business? As lay people, now most people depend on commerce to maintain their livelihood. So is this all unlawful? Actually, it's not like this. For monastics, for the sake of benefiting beings or for the monastic community, Buddha also gave permission in the Vinaya. The treatise on the foundation for yoga practitioners discusses 11 ways to benefit beings. Among these it also says, or if one has gone forth, there are activities for robes, bowls, and so forth. As monastics, for robes and bowls, for benefiting beings, it also discusses doing business. Or if one is a householder, there are non-deceptive commercial activities, farming, serving the king, and so forth. Farming means agriculture and doing some service for the king. As householders, it means doing so non-deceptively, not intentionally being dishonest. For example, if you go to a wholesale market to purchase some goods and products and start selling them in your small shop, this is very normal. What I obtained there, I certainly have some profit here. Without profit, I cannot possibly dedicate everything. Doing this should be acceptable. So Buddha also has such explanations in the scriptures. Also in the Samyukta Agama, it's explained quite clearly. How does the Samyukta Agama explain it? First learn skillful trades and use skillful means to gather wealth. Initially learning crafts, perhaps learning technical occupations, then using skillful methods to seek this kind of wealth. Having obtained that wealth, one should divide it into 4 parts. So the money you earn through commerce should be divided into 4 parts. How to divide into 4 parts? The first part for personal use, the second and third parts, 2 parts for investment use, the fourth part for storage, that is for future capital. So I think many people doing business now invest everything and in the end can't even get back their principal. Some are even reluctant to spend on themselves. Buddha explained the method of doing business very well in the Samyukta Agama. For example, if you earn 4 million, 1 million for personal use, 2 million for operations, and 1 million kept untouched. In case of economic crisis or financial storm, at that time it can be used for compensation. But many people don't know how to do this, thinking they'll always earn so much money and use everything for this purpose. This is not very reasonable. So in the relevant scriptures, Buddha taught householders to seek wealth with non-deceptive wisdom. So the sutras say to use wisdom to seek wealth. What kind of wealth-seeking methods are explained very clearly. Therefore, if we don't steal and also rely on wisdom, there are also ways to accumulate wealth. Therefore, Buddha also said in the scriptures, if towards sentient beings, one thinks of them like parents and can avoid taking what is not given, wisdom and merit are boundless. If in front of sentient beings, you think of them as parents, thinking of all beings as your own parents, then by avoiding taking what is not given, you can obtain boundless wisdom and wealth. This is very reasonable. I think humans need wisdom and also need compassion. Using wisdom to analyze phenomena, using great compassion to treat beings, using faith to seek realization. I'll mention these 3 points. Using wisdom to analyze all phenomena, using great compassion to treat all beings, using faith to seek realization. These are the basic factors for human survival, very much needed. Taking what is not given, like killing, has 4 branches of wrongdoing. This is also discussed in the 3 vows and other treatises. We should know that even merely giving hunters or bandits a little food will result in receiving, without the slightest difference, all the wrongdoing of their killing or taking what is not given, just like before. We'd better not help people who do bad things and shouldn't support them economically with manpower, financial resources, or in any way. If we support them, it will bring bad karmic results for ourselves. We've already discussed the behavior of taking what is not given. It's very important. Many people in the process of study truly need to obtain these through hardship and much effort. We don't dare claim great enlightenment, but the basic truths of Dharma, I think everyone should obtain every day. Actually, Dharma is very precious. Many people obtain it very easily. When it's easily obtained, you also cannot ignore it. Sometimes it appears particularly precious, but if basically not obtained, it might be even more cherished. In the Tang dynasty, there was a Chan Master Niaoke. Chan Master Niaoke generally sat in trees, while his disciples sat on the ground. He sat in the tree every day, like a bird's nest, sitting up there. His disciple practiced austerities for 6 years straight, but not one teaching was transmitted. In 6 years, not even one Dharma teaching was transmitted. Later, the disciple became frustrated. One day he said to his teacher, "I have followed you diligently for 6 years, yet you haven't transmitted even one Dharma teaching. Today I must take leave. I want to go follow other teachers who truly possess Dharma." Then the teacher said, "What do you want? You want Dharma? If you want Dharma, look, I do have a little here." Then he took out a loose thread from his monastic robe and gave it to him. Through this method of indication, it's said that later his disciple attained realization. Are we teaching too much so you cannot attain realization? Sometimes perhaps without transmitting Dharma, just indicating through behavior might also lead to great enlightenment. This is a characteristic of the Chan school. But not everyone is necessarily like this. So even if we don't have the state of great enlightenment now, regarding the basic Dharma principles of accepting and rejecting cause and effect, even hearing one class daily brings the benefit of one class. Some people are very diligent. Today on the phone I spoke with a graduate student of Chinese philosophy from Lanzhou University. She said it hasn't been a year yet. Last year during the Vajrasattva Dharma assembly, during this process, she has completely listened to everything in Dharma sound transmission on the Wisdom and Compassion website. I asked approximately how many sessions. She said probably over 1,300 classes. She listened to all of them. So sometimes I think our effort is probably not enough. If we make effort, there will certainly be some results. She said sometimes at night she sleeps 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours, sometimes 2 hours. All are manageable. Besides school studies, she continuously studies other courses seriously. I just listened, sometimes in the academy or among individual Dharma friends in study groups. Listening to 2 or 3 classes in a week, they feel great pressure. One day a lay practitioner said, "Sai, do you know how hard we work?" I said, "Why?" "Look, we have to listen to 1 class per week." "Very good. Okay, thank you."
Mo sodordo bandırangara badna sodo bandırangara badna sodordo